This is the Mammoth Roofing Solar Show with Scotty the Roofer.
Hello, everybody, again, and welcome to the Mammoth Roofing and Solar Show. My name is Scott Edwards, and you can find us at mammothroofs.com, 210-880-6257 if you want to talk to us and listen to me. Get your pen and paper out, and if you're like me, I'm 44 years old. When I wanted to hear something on the radio, I wanted to hear something and keep it for a recording. I remember I would press play with a cassette tape that I put tape over so that I could record it and remember it and play it over and over again in my car. If you got any way to record this, and we've got our podcast, of course, but get ready to listen in on some super valuable information for you guys out there that are homeowners, because I've got one of the most astounding guests. I'm so excited to have him. This guy is the expert in insurance adjusting. His name is Steve Patrick. He's a former adjuster. He was an instructor for adjusters. So you're not talking to just a great adjuster. You're talking to a guy that taught great adjusters. We're talking about the people, the top guns of the top guns, the instructors, baby. Longtime adjuster for some of the largest companies out there. The biggest claims written are some of the ones that this guy was a part of. A true professional in the industry. He is a founder of Level the Playing Field. That website's leveltheplayingfield.us, but it's a Facebook group with over 20,000 followers. I'm sure he's going to give me an update on the exact number. He's written 5 workbooks that insurance adjusters use to learn. We're talking about a true expert that's going to give our valuable and beloved listeners information that's going to help them through claims processes and give them some really deep insight on what's going on in the industry that I think you're really going to want to hear. He's an advocate, a grassroots champion of right. He taught me this. Well, he didn't teach me this, but something that he lives by, and I really resonated with me. When you're dealing with insurance companies and you're running your business and you're living your life, live above reproach. That really hit me hard. He's a Christian, a Bible-believing man, and a fantastic human being. I want to welcome Steve Patrick on our show. Steve, thanks for coming here and joining us today. How you doing, man?
I am doing well. What a wonderful introduction. Man, I want to meet this guy.
Oh, man. Steve, I'm so excited that you're able to join me today because you and I have had these conversations over the course of the years that we've known each other. But when you start talking to me about what's going on in the industry and really the behind the scenes with the insurance carriers and the homeowners and policyholders, it just blows my mind. The things that you tell me, and I want to dive right into it, and I want to ask you something if I can. You were a former adjuster for years. Give me a little bit about your background and what you're doing now and how that change happened.
So 28 years ago, I started out as a contractor here in Dallas, and I did that for 10 years. I got my claims adjuster license not because I ever wanted to be a claims adjuster. In fact, I'd never met anyone who, as a child, wanted to be a claims adjuster.
Policeman, fireman, claims adjuster.
Yeah. So when I, as a contractor, met an adjuster, I said, hey, look, I pull out my card and say I'm an adjuster too, and they go, oh. And it became easier, to get them to agree to a reasonable settlement for the claim that I happened to be working as a contractor, doing the work. And we had a couple years here in Dallas without hail and wind, which is pretty unusual. And there was 3 hurricanes that hit Florida about 16, 17 years ago. I've been a claims adjuster for 18 years. And
18 years.
I worked those hurricanes in Florida and Mississippi, Alabama also, it was all along the Gulf Coast there.
Sure.
And that was my start as a claims adjuster. And I was like a fish in water. And I loved helping consumers who have a legitimate covered loss be able to be indemnified. That's a fancy $3 word, that insurance adjusters use. Means that the client is made whole. If you sustain $25,000 loss, you get $25,000 minus your deductible, your contribution to the loss. And not $10,000, not $15,000, but the full amount. And I really enjoyed doing that. And I I realized that most of the claims adjusters are poorly trained nowadays. Used to be, man, claims adjusters had some of the best training. I mean, extensive training. Like when I started 28 years ago, and I noticed about 15 years ago that wasn't the case anymore, so I started my own claims adjuster licensing and training school. And so I was training adjusters, helping them get licensed, teaching them how to properly, do damage assessment. Maybe you have a kitchen fire, maybe you have a water leak in your house, maybe a storm came through and damaged your roof, whatever the case may be. And I was teaching these brand new claims adjusters how to properly do their job. And back then, they were allowed to do their job. And as time has gone by, I come to the realization about 7 years ago.
Here it is, 7 years ago. I know where you're going with this because we've had this conversation. This is the big shift, right?
Man, I was so discouraged because the insurance companies no longer would allow their claims adjusters to do the right thing. Wow. So if you do a proper damage assessment and determine a reasonable method of repair, whether it be a fire loss, a water loss, storm claim, whatever the case may be, your claims manager would accuse you of overriding the estimate. In other words, putting way too many line items, being way too detailed, thorough, and comprehensive in your estimate. And it's got to the point now where the claims departments, not all of them, but many of them, prey upon, P-R-E-Y. They prey upon unsophisticated consumers because the average homeowner doesn't have the first idea what's going on in their claim. How could they? They've never had a claim before. They've never read their homeowner's policy or their commercial property policy. And so...
Now, I want to take a pause real quick, Steve, because as a contractor, we work with insurance companies all the time, and it's important just because we kind of touched on this. The insurance company, we do a lot of insurance claims. We have pretty good relationships with insurance companies, but because they pay for these claims. But what I really want you to talk about too is, without us feeling like we're just bashing the insurance company, about your mindset, because you came from the insurance world. What that mind shift came as a result of how they were paying these claims out. Can you touch on that?
Actually, I still am a claims adjuster. I keep my license up with the continuing education hours and such.
Yes, sir.
I love the insurance industry and the claims industry. I hate what it's devolved into. So what's happened is that these claims departments, they've discovered. So there was a book I read. It out of print now, and it was written by it was written by an insurance attorney. An insurance professor out of Rutgers University, and delay, deny, defend. It becomes the new MO, method of operation, for many insurance companies. Not all of them, but many of them. They're going to delay the claim, which frustrates the consumer, obviously. They'd like to get their home back into a livable situation. They're going to deny claims and then defend their denial. Delay, deny, defend. I read this book, and it blew all the wind out of my sails. I realized that I was fortunate. I worked for some of the some of the better insurance companies out there, and their claims departments would allow me to do my job properly. But I had lots of my students from my claims adjuster school calling me up and saying that the insurance companies no longer allow them to do the right thing. And wow. They were contemplating quitting the industry because what they were being forced to do went against their conscience, and they just couldn't do it anymore. And many of them have quit. In fact, the insurance claims industry is in crisis. They're letting go the adjusters who actually know what they're doing. They're letting them go, and
Wow.
They're replacing them by brand new people who don't know what they're doing. And
this it sounds like this is something that's happening across the industry with almost every company. By the way, if you're online with us right now, again, it's mammothroofs.com. My name is Scott. We have Mammoth Roofing and Solar. Call us at 210-888-6257 if you want to get an estimate or talk to us about about some of the content here. But Steve, keep on going. I want to hear more. And not meaning to cut you off here, but I do want to hear more about this. About this shift you've been talking about here.
So I love the insurance industry. I love the claims. I loved doing insurance claims. I just can't in good conscience do it anymore because they won't allow you to do the right thing. And the thing about it is that the average consumer believes their insurance company is going to do the right thing because they're advertising, like a good neighbor, we're on your side, you're in good hands.
Oh, yeah, man. You got football players throwing touchdowns and telling them to call us. You know what I mean?
So what insurance companies sell is peace of mind. You have the peace of mind that if you've bought insurance from us, that if you ever have a covered loss, that we've got your back. And what happens is, so if before you suffer a loss, God forbid you ever have one, before you suffer a loss, you are an asset to the insurance company.
Right.
Money is in the form of insurance premiums and going into their coffers, which they invest and make a huge return on investment off of your money going into their coffers. So you're an asset. But once you have a claim, then their view of you, the consumer, switches, and now you're a liability because now you want money from them because you want them to fulfill their promises under the insurance policy. That's all the consumer wants. Every once in a while, you have somebody out there, a consumer committing insurance fraud or a contractor committing insurance fraud. But for the most part, especially in catastrophic events like in Florida right now with Hurricane Ian, people are just trying to get their lives back. They'd like to get back in their homes, and their homes actually keep the rain out.
That's
you have
right.
a roof blown off from a hurricane is 170 miles an hour, and people just want to get their lives back together.
Right.
They're not trying to profit from it. And many of the insurance companies take the stance that the consumer is unsophisticated and they don't know any better. So we can just give a lowball offer. Most people will take that, and no one's any the wiser.
You gave me a great analogy, and just real quick, and we went into a lot of detail about the flashings and stuff like that, but just real quick, that analogy you gave me about on the flip side, what if it was a roofing contractor that was doing something similar? Can you touch on that real quick?
You bet. So imagine if the listener is a consumer that needs to replace their roof. So they call up a roofing company like yours, Scott, Mammoth Roofing, there in San Antonio. And
thanks for the plug, Steve. Now, this example you're giving, we're the good guys in this situation, right? Let's make that clear.
Yeah.
All right.
So
go ahead.
You're going to hire a company. It's some fly-by-night company, not Mammoth Roofing. And so the roofing company says that we're going to replace your entire roof system for $20,000. And there's a contract. The roofing company gets $20,000. The consumer gets a brand new roof system. So let's say that the roofing company has internal policies and procedures that say we don't replace flashings, which is part of the roof system.
Right.
So the roofing company comes out and they start replacing the roof, and they don't replace the flashings.
Because it's their internal policy, right? Like that blows my mind, Steve, because what you're doing is you're contracting with the homeowner to do all of the job, and then you're collecting money to do all of the job, and then you're only doing part of the job.
Exactly. So imagine a contractor that says we're going to replace the entire roof system, and then when they don't replace the flashings, which is a very important part of the roof.
Absolutely.
It keeps the rain out, right?
Right.
And then they tell the consumer, I'm sorry, but that violates our internal policies and procedures, which the consumer never agreed to, by the way. In the contract to replace the roof, it never said anywhere in there that the insurance company and the consumer are bound to follow the insurance company's internal policies and procedures or the roofing company's internal policies and procedures. This happens every day on insurance claims.
And
so
none the wiser. I was going to say this at our company, Mammoth Roofing and Solar. By the way, if you wanted to get a free inspection from us or talk to us about anything you have going on as far as if you filed a claim or something like that, to take a look at your roof, it's 210-880-6257, and you'll find out about our boutique roofing experience. We'll have a professional on your roof within 24 hours. Again, it's Scott Edwards with Mammoth Roofing and Solar. Steve, what I was going to ask you to do is, I've noticed that the insurance companies have given significant pushback because talk to me. This is something we talked about last night about that relationship with the contractor and sort of this idea that there's only one person standing in the way. Can you talk to me about that? Kind of give that example we talked about as far as the that supplement process and things like that.
So the consumer stands alone, and they're up against this huge machine, this claims department, and they handle claims all day long, every day, and the consumer has no idea how the claim process even works, right? So it's a tremendous disadvantage the consumer has when it comes to negotiating their claim. And so the first thing that a consumer can do to solve this problem is switch homeowners or commercial property insurance to a company that they don't know their name. The more companies advertise and the more name recognition an insurance company has, the worse they are at handling claims.
Well, that's great advice. I never thought about that. It makes sense. You got to pay those football players a lot of money, don't you? Less for claims.
They spend $1 billion a year advertising. Where do you think that money comes from? It comes from claims proceeds that weren't paid. So they're using claims proceeds that they should be paying consumers. They keep a significant amount of that money, and they use it then to advertise to buy market share. And so if you're familiar with an insurance company's name because you see them advertised on TV or on radio, don't buy insurance from them. Buy from a company you've never heard of, and go to AM Best. You might want to write that down, folks. AM Best, and see how that insurance company is rated. Do a Google search and find out if there's been any complaints against that insurance company for their claims practices.
So not all insurance companies are bad. They or I shouldn't say bad. We're not going to, I guess, demonize insurance companies here. You're just stating facts. It sounds like, and if not facts, your opinion, Steve. And so that what I'm of the opinion that there's some great insurance companies out there. Sounds like that AM Best is a good place to find them.
Correct. And Google some of the best ones. And but if they advertise heavily on TV or radio, don't buy insurance from them, because the chances of you, God forbid, you ever have a claim. But if you do, you could find yourself in a mess. Another thing the consumer can do is they can download my book, Level the Playing Field, for free. They can text the word ebook, E-B-O-O-K, no hyphen or dash, ebook, to 214-496-5182, and they can download my book for free. No one is going to read it until they have an insurance claim. It's just human nature. People aren't going to want to read about how to handle an insurance claim. They don't think they're ever going to have one. I mean, who thinks they're ever going to have a wreck and need to use their insurance to fix their car? No one thinks that they're ever going to have need for insurance. it's referred to as a necessary evil, and it kind of is a necessary evil, right? And so
that book has great advice, by the way. And I say advice; it's just a great resource to help people navigate that process. And Steve, I was going to say, we talked about kind of this idea that there's been a lot of pushback. Could you touch on why that is, or do you know why that is? I don't even know why. I just noticed that when let's say, for example, we get these claims, and the way you'd phrased it was that they were lowball. When we get these estimates from our customers, they're really low. So we explain to the customer, look, we're gonna ask the insurance company to pay for certain scope items and codes that we have to follow as a contractor. And I'm telling you, Steve, I've just gotten a lot of pushback. And can you touch on why that might be?
Sure, I can tell you exactly why it is. It's greed. 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 The insurance companies have realized if they put on boxing gloves and fight the consumer in regard to their claim, again, they see you as a liability. Once you're no longer an asset, you're a liability. And so they put on the boxing gloves and they fight your claim. And the way they do it specifically is they send in a lowball offer. And then they say, we have lots of desperate contractors who are loyal to us, not to you, that will do piecemeal work for our price. The price isn't the issue. The scope is the issue. And so the issue is the scope of work. Is, you, Scott, you'll write up an estimate that'll have 65 line items, and they write up an estimate that has 35 line items. And the reason why they write up an estimate with 35 line items because they've hired someone who was working at Taco Bell 3 weeks ago. They've gone through a 3-day class, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't have any construction background whatsoever. How can a person who has no construction background write up a thorough and comprehensive estimate to make repairs on a structure when they know nothing about construction? Imagine you as the consumer, you the listener. Imagine if you had to write up an estimate to repair a fire loss. Where would you even begin? And so some insurance companies have discovered by hiring inexperienced people to handle the claims, the amount that they have to pay out in claims proceeds is greatly reduced, and they save a ton of money. See, there's this inherent conflict. Insurance companies have shareholders and they have policyholders. The shareholders are supposed to maximize their investment profit that a shareholder can make by investing in an insurance company. The policyholder is supposed to be indemnified. Again, that's that fancy $3 word in insurance that means be made whole. And they're an absolute conflict of interest. If the insurance company is paying for all their claims properly like they should be, then the shareholders make far less of a return on their investment.
It makes total sense. Makes total sense.
And if the insurance company is then going to say, okay, we are going to lowball our policyholders so that our shareholders get an excellent return on their investment, so they want to invest even more in us, then we become even more profitable, and all the executives make a higher salary, and everyone wins. Well, except for the consumer.
Right.
And that's the situation. So the solution for the consumer is to download my book if they have a claim, hire a contractor like Mammoth, they're in San Antonio, that actually knows what they're doing and they're professionals, and read through my book so you can learn how to make compelling arguments that make sense so that the adjuster finds himself between a rock and a hard place and he has to agree that your argument is legitimate and reasonable.
And when you came down here and talked to us, Steve, that was something that was the theme, is this legitimate and reasonable idea. And I appreciate you giving us that shout out. Again, I always want to tell my audience that my goal is to help them as much as I can. If you want to talk to Mammoth Roofing and Solar about anything to do with what we're talking about today, or get a free inspection, we'll have a professional on your roof within 24 hours, and we'll tell you about our boutique roofing experience. It's 210-880-6257. That's Mammoth Roofing and Solar at mammothroofs.com. And we got to kind of button this up, Steve, but I want to end it with this. This is so important for me to get this to my audience, in that I'm not just bringing you on here to bash insurance companies, because I want them to know that this is about educating the public about what's going on in the background and giving them some ammunition to help themselves. I mean, this is not about us or you or anything. It's about the consumer being able to be have that ammunition, that arrow in their quiver when they need it. Your book is a great resource. I know that. But even if you don't want to, if they can't understand it, they of course can reach out to you. I know you're always available, but we have taken a lot of that information and made it a part of our process to be able to help our customers get through this process the right way. So we got about a minute left, Steve. I want to thank you so much for coming on our show.
You bet.
And I want to just see if you have any final thoughts. We got about 40 seconds left.
Download my book. So here's the way to do it. Text the word ebook, EBOOK, to 214-496-5182. Download a copy of my book, even if you don't have an insurance claim now. God forbid if you ever have one, then you have a resource at your fingertips that you can refer to, and you don't have to read the whole thing. It's a educational resource. Read the chapters that apply to you. It
is set up to where you can use it effectively without having to go through and read the whole thing. Guys, thank you again for joining us. Steve Patrick, everybody, thank you so much, Steve, for being on today. If you want to get an inspection from us, get an estimate from us, we'll give you one on the spot. We'll have a professional on your roof within 24 hours and talk to you about our Mammoth Boutique Roofing Experience and our 50-year guarantee on our work. That's Mammoth Roofing and Solar. You can find us at mammothroofs.com. My name is Scott Edwards. We'll see you next time. Give us a call, 210-880-6257. And thanks a bunch, everybody. We'll see you next time.